The wisdom of the entire universe is held within a cup of tea. We drink tea in order to forget the noise of the world. The path to heaven passes through a teapot. So claim the Tuaregs, the Chinese, and the English. From the four corners of the earth, tea is a universal symbol of welcome. It invites peace, reflection, and conviviality. When we travel, many roads and many stories lead us to tea. And likewise, a simple cup of tea can take us on a fabulous journey. I close my eyes. Scents and aromas invade my senses and transport me to a small island in the Indian Ocean whose name evokes this radiant land. Tea was not born here, however. It first appeared in China around 200 BC. But Sri Lanka, formerly called Ceylon, is so intricately linked to the history of tea as to be part of its identity. Up until the 1860s, the country was proud of its coffee plantations. They once covered a large part of the island and represented its principal source of income. James Taylor was a young Scot who arrived in Ceylon at the age of 17. He had the novel idea of planting a few tea seedlings on a small plot of land on the estate where he worked. He used seeds that he had recuperated from Chinese tea plants at the Royal Botanical Gardens near Kandy. His experiment would have remained a historical footnote had the coffee plantations not been devastated by an epidemic of a disease called coffee rust. The British planters then tore up their coffee plantations and, following Taylor's example, replaced the trees with tea bushes. Having had experience with similar agricultural methods, the planters transformed this hazardous venture into a financial success. There were only 400 hectares planted in tea in 1875, but 25 years later there were 160,000. Production rose from 81 tons to nearly 23,000. Today, Sri Lanka is one of the largest producers of tea in the world, just behind China, India, and Kenya. Our voyage will reveal the secrets of this ancient land, of the men and women who harvest its leaves on the steep hillsides, of the people who process it, and those who export it across the world. The first traces of maritime trade, dated to 1400 BC, are found on the southern coast by the Indian Ocean. The southern province of the country was an important region for the cinnamon trade. As early as the 8th century, long before Western colonization, Arab, Roman, Indian, and Chinese merchants had traded in the port of Galley. The modern history of the island began in 1502, when a small fleet of Portuguese ships heading for the Maldives was blown off course by a storm. The distressed sailors sought refuge in the port of Galley. The Portuguese, who had initially come to trade in cinnamon, eventually expanded their control over much of the island. In 1638, the Kingdom of Kandy, which covered most of the eastern half of the island, signed an agreement with the Dutch. This treaty made the Dutch the protectors of the island. A war ensued between the Portuguese and the Dutch. Eventually, the Dutch were victorious and captured Ceylon in 1658. In 1796, the British took the island. They, in turn, imposed their imprint on the town. They retained the fort as an administrative centre, but preferred Colombo as a port for maritime trade. After the fall of the Kingdom of Kandy in 1815, the port city of Colombo became the capital of the new British colony. While the fort at Colombo had only been a military stronghold for the Portuguese and the Dutch, the British developed the spice trade. The military forts were replaced by warehouses for coffee and spices. In 1865, the Colombo Municipal Council was founded in order to encourage self-governance. And it is here, in the midst of this busy, high-spirited and noisy city, that our story and quest begins. The extravagant love of the British for tea has been infused throughout the entire country, and today tea is a great deal more than just a beverage. It's an art, it's a science. Dilma, one of the largest brands of tea in Sri Lanka, tastes every harvest from every provenance and only selects the very best teas. Several thousands of different teas are tested every day by the tea testers.
In this room, we taste 10,000 teas each week. Each is different because it's grown on a different field, at a different wind condition, at a different aspect. And then the next week, they all change again. So it's truly a very beautiful aspect that tea has.
24 PK3 SJS, 26 PK1 SJS.
In order to know the value of a tea, it is first necessary to recognize the texture of the leaves.
Open in pan 32, 419 very bold, and 52 another 53.
And its taste after being infused.
Plus 3.
Here, the knowledge and science of tea is also taught. The Dilma School of Tea forms professionals for hotels and restaurants at major international events.
Well, we have had 68 sessions so far at the School of Tea, and in these 68 sessions, we have trained over 5,000 people. That the sessions are open to hospitality and culinary professionals. And what we teach them is firstly about the history of tea, because tea has an incredible history. And when we present tea to a guest, the wonderful story of tea, the provenance, in a sense, is so very important to their appreciation to know. We want to take people beyond the cup of tea where you simply say with milk or without, but to understand the terroirs, that tea from Nuwara Eliya, from Kandapola, it has a lightness, brightness, notes of lychee. Tea from a little bit south of Nuwara Eliya, a little bit more greenish at this time. Tea when it's raining, a little bit plain, not so great, but tea in Nawalapitiya, malty. So when you take the wellness and the pleasure aspect, it is a beautiful herb, but it is so little understood. So our focus at the Dilma School of Tea is to present this knowledge.
It took time and several generations of tea makers to achieve such a degree of excellence in the production of tea and in the recognition of the uniqueness of each type. But before reaching the tables of the world's finest restaurants, tea comes from a plant that grows and which grows far from Colombo itself. So, let us leave this crowded city. Fort Railway Station is the main station in Colombo. Opened in 1917, it now accommodates about 73 million passengers a year. As early as 1839, a railway line linking the coffee plantations around Kandy to the coast had been envisioned. Its construction took 7 years and was completed in 1864. Today, this line transports the inhabitants of the island, but it will also be our link to the past, to the origins of tea in Ceylon. Nothing is more evocative of a journey than a train. It's always a moment of dreams and poetry, and reflections lost in the passing scenery. We climb higher, and the first plantations appear, reminding me of the purpose of my journey. Soothed by the swaying and sound of the train, a memory from childhood of the face swept by the wind heightens this sublime moment as I travel on this legendary railway line. The construction of this large railway network required the construction of many bridges and tunnels along a sinuous course through hills that often exceeded 2,000 meters altitude. Clearing the forests on the steep slopes, which rise higher and higher towards the center of the island, required a colossal effort, and this task was only possible with the help of local elephants. In the mid-19th century, when the English seized Ceylon, the island was still three-quarters covered by virgin forests through which 20,000 elephants roamed freely. But the growing demand for tea pushed the British planters to extend their plantations and clear steeper and wooded terrains. For this difficult operation, elephants, guided by their Sinhalese mahouts, proved to be the best means of removing stumps and clearing the undergrowth. But these precious allies also became the principal victims of the excessive love of the English for hunting. Merely to satisfy their lust for killing, they massacred a large number of animals. Today, forests cover only about 1/4 of the island, and the number of wild elephants has dropped to between 3,500 and 4,000 individuals. Domesticated centuries ago, Asian elephants are used to transport people, merchandise, and heavy materials. Today, they have become one of the major tourist attractions in Thailand, Laos, Nepal, Cambodia, as well as here in Sri Lanka. But this lucrative trend is harmful to the well-being of the 3,000 tourist elephants. A study made by an NGO, World Animal Protection, has revealed that 3/4 of the elephants are mistreated, often chained up day and night, and even sometimes beaten while being trained. This is rather surprising in a country where elephants are sacred and venerated animals. In Buddhism, elephants are the symbol of peace, prosperity, and mental strength. In Hinduism, Ganesha, the god of intelligence and wisdom, is depicted with an elephant's head. In Sri Lanka, 2/3 of the people are Buddhists, followed by Hindus, Muslims, and Christians. But it is in Kandy, in the former capital of Sri Lanka, that the most important temple of the country is found, the Temple of the Sacred Tooth. A legend recounts that when the Buddha died and was cremated, some of his most ardent disciples were able to save a few of his mortal remains from the flames, including a molar. After having been preserved for 8 centuries in India, Hindu extremists attempted to reduce the tooth to powder. To save it from destruction, Princess Hemamali, the daughter of the king of Kalinga, hid it in her hair and brought it to Ceylon. Guarded for 5 centuries in a specially constructed temple, the famous tooth is said to have been recaptured by the Indians, recuperated, and returned to Ceylon by King Parakramahu III. It was once again partially destroyed by the Portuguese, who took it back to India. It then fell into the sea and was pushed by the winds towards Kandy, where it was discovered, in prime condition, in the Dalada Maligawa temple near the royal palace. According to the legend, whoever holds the tooth holds the right to rule the island. In 1815, the British examined the 5-centimetre long tooth and claimed that it was nothing but a common crocodile tooth. Now encased in 7 coffers, this precious tooth, relic of an uninterrupted cult, is honoured every day by pilgrims who come from around the world. The Kingdom of Kandy holds a particular place in the turbulent history of Sri Lanka. This mountainous enclave is perched on impenetrable hills in the centre of the island, some of which accumulate above 2,000 metres. Up until the British conquest in 1815, the kingdom managed to preserve a much-envied independence. The coastal plains had long since fallen into the hands of the colonial powers. Traces of the former Kingdom of Kandy are still visible on the streets of the town today, such as the Royal Palace. And Kandy Lake, this ornamental lake built by the last King of Kandy in 1807, is only a few hundred metres away. The white building located on the bank was formerly the Queen's Bathing Pavilion. The British, taking advantage of serious internal strife at the court in Kandy, were able to invade the kingdom in 1815 with the support from certain fractions of the nobility, and the British, in their customary manner, imposed their own colonial architecture as witnessed in the streets of the town. As I imagined the tea road in Sri Lanka, I had a mental image of markets with immense stores of tea, piles of jute sacks filled to the brim and from which emanated intoxicating scents of tea. So, when I went to the Kandy market, there was an exotic palette of colours and odours, fruits and vegetable, fish and spices. But not a single leaf, not a grain, not the least trace of tea. My Western mind had imagined the whole illusion. Of course, tea that's ready to be consumed must be hermetically sealed from the air in order to retain its aromas. But even packaged, I was delighted to find tea everywhere. In the market, in the shops that have retained their very special British charm, as well as in the small tea shops scattered around the town. The origins of tea are very close, and for good reason, for it is here that it all began. The Royal Botanical Gardens, encircled by the meandering Mahaweli River, are located in Peradeniya, just a few kilometers outside Kandy. This 60-hectare botanical garden is the most beautiful in Sri Lanka. The tea plants here are of Chinese origin. The seeds that James Taylor used for his first experiments came from this garden. The Ceylonese tea industry stems from this garden. Once reserved for the kings of Kandy, the botanical gardens in Peradeniya are the largest in the country. Today, they are now a favourite rendezvous for romantic young couples. After discovering the tea seed plants in these gardens, let us reboard our train and continue travelling up the mountain on a voyage backwards in time. From the international export port of Colombo to the pivotal city of Kandy, we have been following the tea road as we climbed the mountain. We are now at the Lule Condora estate. This plantation covers more than 1,000 hectares between 600 and 1,300 meters altitude. Altitude is a decisive factor for Ceylonese tea. Sunlight, temperature, winds, and humidity are also factors that determine the subtleties of the aromas. Low-grown tea is grown from sea level to 600 meters. Medium-grown, from between 600 and 1,200 meters, and high-grown tea from between 1,200 and 2,000 meters. Originally planted by James Taylor on a 7-hectare plot, the Lule Condera Tea Garden, also called Field Number 7, was the first commercial tea plantation in Sri Lanka. James Taylor, a Scot who had recently arrived in Ceylon, had been chosen to manage the first sowing of tea seeds in 1865. Taylor had acquired a basic knowledge of growing tea in northern India. He also designed an experimental machine for rolling tea after rolling it by hand on a table on his veranda. After oxidation, the leaves were cooked in clay kilns fired by charcoal. His first teas sold on the premises were met with immediate success. In 1872, Taylor had a fully equipped factory, and in 1873, his first teas were auctioned in London. Through his endeavours and determination, Taylor was largely responsible for the rapid success of tea cultivation in Ceylon. This success led to the first public tea auction in Colombo in 1883 and to the foundation of the Colombo Tea Traders Association in 1894. Taylor continued to test new methods at the Lule Condera estate up until the end of his life. He never became the owner of the plantation, but he never left it either. The expansion of the tea industry was also a part of its downfall. The rapid growth was accompanied by a concentration of capital in the hands of large concerns based in Great Britain. The consequential succession of property mergers forced many small planters to sell out. In 1892, Taylor died suddenly at the age of 57 on his beloved estate of Lule Condera. The name of the Scot who best exploited this new beverage is almost synonymous with tea, Sir Thomas Lipton. Today, his statue sits atop Lipton's seat. He liked to rest here and admire the splendid view. Thomas Johnston Lipton was born in Glasgow in 1848. The son of Irish immigrants, he grew up in the Glasgow slums. He left school at the age of 10 to help support his family. When he was 21, he opened his own shop. His imaginative marketing skills, which he had acquired during a stay in the United States, and his flair for clever advertising soon led to success. By 1890, he was already a millionaire. Lipton needed a holiday. He booked passage for Australia. On the way, he interrupted his trip in Ceylon. He was interested in tea as it was one of the many products that he sold in his chain of shops. Tea was then quite expensive in Great Britain, and most working-class families couldn't afford it. Lipton's idea was to reduce the cost by eliminating the many middlemen and making the drink affordable to the average British consumer. His other innovative move was in modernizing his packaging. Rather than selling it loose, he packaged his tea in colourful, eye-catching bags. And each carried the famous slogan, "Straight from the tea gardens to the teapot." Lipton's foray into the tea industry was a huge success, and it greatly increased his wealth. His 300 shops scattered throughout England were soon unable to keep up with the demand for this now cheap product. Lipton tea was then made available in other stores in Great Britain. Lipton had expanded from a chain of grocery shops to a brand name that would soon become world famous. The financial wealth created by the tea industry led to the development of leisure resorts for British expatriates. Nuwara Eliya is a perfect example. The British turned it into a hill station in order to escape the heat of the lowlands. Nuwara Eliya is the coldest place in Sri Lanka. The Hattan National Bank and the adjacent post office that dates from 1894 are Nuwara Eliya's most emblematic buildings. The largest tea plantations are found around Nuwara Eliya. More than 1 million people, nearly 5% of Sri Lanka's total population, work in tea factories. The workers, mainly Tamils, are the descendants of families who came to Ceylon from southern India in the 19th century to look for work. The first step in the production of tea is picking the leaves. This stage requires extreme dexterity and is entrusted to women. Or is it because picking is so fastidious and tiring a task that men refuse to do it? The top 2 leaves of the plant and its bud must be pinched between the thumb and index finger. Tea is harvested by hand. The process is laborious but also very important, as only the very tenderest leaves are plucked. And this can only be achieved by a coordination between the eye and the human hand. Moreover, the steep slopes are unsuited to the use of machines. The flavor of different teas depends upon the careful harvesting of the leaves. What might seem strange is the close relationship between the age of the leaf and the quality of its aroma. The younger the leaf, the stronger the aroma, and the smaller the harvest. It takes 5 kilos of fresh tea leaves to produce a kilo of tea. At the end of a day's work, a good picker will have harvested about 30 kilos of leaves. This unrewarding, laborious work is paid as piecework. Working in hot and humid conditions, the workers are paid about €1 for 15 kilos of leaves. That's a monthly salary of about 40 to 50 euros. To ensure the workers' loyalty and availability, the pickers and their families are housed in villages built near the plantations. These villages have schools, places of worship, shops, and sports fields. The origin of the tea determines the flavour and aroma of the tea. In order to avoid poorer teas, it's very important to be certain of the tea's provenance and its quality for every drop of tea sold to the consumer. To assure transparency, the government has set up an organisation called the Tea Board, which labels all the teas produced in Sri Lanka. Every tea sample is analysed by experts in their laboratories. Then, all Sri Lankan teas are sent to the tasting unit where professional tasters determine if the batch qualifies for the Ceylon tea label. But before tasting the tea, there are a few useful things to know about the jargon used by testers. P stands for pico. It's derived from a Chinese word and signifies white down. O stands for orange. But contrary to what you might think, this doesn't refer to the colour of the tea. It means royal. It's a reference to the Royal Dutch House of Orange-Nassau. F stands for fleurie, and it refers to the bud emerging at the top of the plant. So, pico tea is made from the lower leaves that are wider and do not contain the bud. OP, orange pico, is made from the bud already transformed from young leaves. And FOP, flowery orange pico, is made from the terminal bud and its 2 young leaves. It's made from the finest grade of leaves. B stands for broken. Leaves that have been broken in small pieces give a stronger and darker liquor. D stands for dust. These low-grade fannings are used in tea bags. Very high-quality teas and white teas are often called silver or golden. These teas are made from the bud only. The traditional production methods of Ceylon teas are based on 5 different operations developed by the British in India in the middle of the 19th century. After picking, the leaves are brought to the factory for withering. This process softens them.
We call these boxes troughs. The base is a metal netting, and it's surrounded by 2 metal plates. At the end of each trough, there's a ventilator. On a day like today with a normal temperature, the ventilators use air from the outside. If it's raining, the air is heated before it's injected into the trough. During this operation, the leaves lose about 40% of their humidity. About 1,200 kilos of leaves can be dried on a single trough. After drying, their weight is reduced to 700 kilos. That's the first step of processing done in the factory. It's called withering or wilting. On a dry day, it takes 12 hours. When it rains, it can take up to 18.
The leaves are then mixed by hand. This increases air circulation before they are collected.
Every 20 minutes, 325 kilos are dropped through this trap. The chute leads to a crushing machine. The chute is a shortcut to the crusher. This machine crushes the leaves. During this process, the leaves release chlorophyll and other essences that mix together. There's a trap underneath that collects the crushed leaves. Next, the leaves are spread out and aired. We call this the fermentation step. But in fact, it's a natural oxidation. At this stage, the leaves start to turn brown. They are now collected in a recipient and put into a dryer. This is the oldest machine in our factory. It's 97 years old. It was made in Belfast, in Ireland. The machine burns wood. A chimney with 2 ventilators is located in the back. It sends hot air to the dryer. One of the main functions of this step is to destroy the microbes and bacteria that may have developed during the preceding steps. Here, 100% of the bacteria are completely destroyed. The leaves are heated to 91 degrees Celsius for 21 minutes. After that, they're dry.
Stems can alter the quality of the tea, so they're separated from the leaves using an electrostatic procedure. The machine separates the leaves from the stems using their large difference of relative density. The stems are then used as compost in the fields. The last step in the operation consists in sorting the leaves according to their size and condition, whether they are whole or broken. This yields the basic ingredients for the fabrication of the different teas that we sell on the international market. Our train crosses the emblematic 9-arch bridge. Easily accessible, this 9-arched viaduct is 92 meters long and dates from 1921. Every day, 8 trains slowly cross this mythical bridge to the delight of the passengers. It's rather comforting to have the time to travel by train here. It's a little bit like taking the time for a nice cup of tea and getting lost in your own thoughts. The market value of tea very quickly made people greedy, and the uncontrolled development of the tea industry was detrimental to nature. The British planters deforested large tracts of land in order to extend their estates, without giving any thoughts about their impact on environment. While travelling in Sri Lanka, visitors are often struck by the beauty of the magnificent tea plantations, but they forget that the present green environment has replaced a more natural green. This intensive monoculture has resulted in a significant decline in Ceylon's biodiversity. In the 1980s, Ranayala Senanayake, a doctor in systems ecology, invented a method of reforestation that respects interaction between species. Moreover, it also allows farmers and other people in remote areas to provide for their basic needs. The method is called analog forestry. Dr. Senanayake bought an old tea plantation in Belipola and developed a method of production based on traditional Sri Lankan practices. Endemic species such as cinnamon, pepper, but also Kitul palm, which is unknown in Europe, are found there. Kitul molasses, or jaggery, is extracted from the flower of the Kitul palm. Its taste lies somewhere between maple syrup, sugarcane, and honey. Look out for this enormous flower visible in the treetops, but don't miss it, it only flowers once a year. The sap is then cooked and the sweet liquid is reduced to make a syrup. Monoculture is, of course, excluded from the analog forests. But this does not preclude growing tea bushes. At a time when ecology is more important than ever, individual initiatives are trying to find more sustainable patterns. That's what's happening here at the Amba estate. Here they have turned to organic farming as a means of producing high-quality tea. And this estate, perched in the mountains, is a haven of peace, nature, and wildlife.
When you go to normal Sri Lankan tea plantation, you guys can see it's completely covered like a carpet, tea. But here you can see more spaces in between bushes and so many shade plants in between tea because mainly we are organic. Here we pick the best quality tea leaf, and in a normal factory the best quality picking is 2 leaves and bud, but here we only pick the first quality, 1 leaf and 1 bud. So when you're making good cup of black tea or good cup of green tea, the best nutrients are there. So when you choose the best quality, you get more nutrition and more flavor in there. And the same day, we pick the first quality and the second quality and the third quality. Third quality, we pick it because we need to clean the bush. Otherwise, it'll get overgrown. Normally in Sri Lanka, 90% of teas are machine-made. So every tea, they pick the coarser leaves and they put in the machines and they mass production. But here, we pick the best quality tea leaf and organically maintained tea fields, and we process it by hand. So we're making specialized handmade black tea here, not the machine-made black tea.
This is the best method of production for preserving the qualities of tea. This organic farm goes one step further in developing inventive packaging. Here, 24 white tea buds form a star. It's easy to transport and to infuse. The farm takes good care of its workers and tries to develop their skills and provide sustainable jobs for them.
The good thing of here is the worker who work here, they do everything. You pick your tea leaf and you bring it to the factory and you keep the record. And the next day, you never go for the tea picking. You come to the factory, grab your tea leaf, and you process it by yourself. And then you finish it, and it's your tea. That's very good, because they never get bored. They love that. Our laborers are very lucky. They come here, and they do the production, and then everybody's like a corporation here. Because top up the monthly salaries, what they get, we get their bonuses, we give their bonuses, and top up everything. Everybody here equally share 10% of farm income. Not the profit, income. That's better than profit. So it's kind of like corporation here. Amba is a total social corporation. When British came here, when they introduced tea to Sri Lanka, they realized this country is paradise for tea because of the weather. So they commercialize it. They use machines and big cheap labor force they bring from South India to Sri Lanka to pick the tea leaf. So because of that big cheap labor force and because of the machines, Sri Lanka easily become world's largest tea producer on 20th century. But now we dropped to number 4. And number 1 is China, and number 2 is India, and number 3 is now Kenya. Sri Lanka dropped to number 4. Earlier, colonial time, we have the immigrants who work with tea. But when we got the freedom, Sri Lankan government decided to offer free education. So everybody here go to the free schools and free universities, get better knowledge. People get more educated and people get more better jobs, but nobody want to pick the tea leaf. Nobody want to do the agriculture product. That's the problem. So because of that situation, all the tea factories losing their labor force. So because of that, Sri Lanka is losing their production step by step. But big countries like China, India, Kenya, they have big population and cheap labor force. So they don't have that problem yet, but they will face this problem future. But Sri Lanka struggling more with this labor problem. So my view is, only suggestion is do something specialized, target the best market like us and make small and more and treat your worker very well. But superior quality product and niche market. That's the future of Sri Lankan tea.
By adopting both new environmental and social strategies, this plantation makes a profit while retaining human and ecological values. If this desire to make the best of its land and of its people is the future for Sri Lanka, then it could and should be the future in many fields and many places. We have come to the end of our tea road in this marvelous country. As the end of our journey and quest draws near, let's remember it, for now and forever, over a nice cup of tea.